First thing to note is the fact that this is a besieged area. It's been besieged for a number of years now if we talk about the wider eastern Ghouta area. And then on top of that, you've had the operations in recent weeks from the Syrian regime, or by the Syrian regime, to take more and more territory from the opposition, and they've succeeded in that. And now you have this pocket, the only town that's left, Douma, which is struggling. You've had underground hospitals. That's how they've had to deal with at times the nature of the airstrikes that have been hitting this area. If you're looking at what's happened over the last few days specifically, because of the evacuations that have been happening, a number of medical professionals, people who work in hospitals, people with medical training have left already. They've already been evacuated into areas of northern Syria that are under the control of the opposition, and that means that the latest airstrikes have left behind people who simply don't have much access anymore to those medical facilities. The Syrian Red Crescent, for example, is now not operational at all in Douma, and as for other organizations, they're operating at a minimal capacity. And when you're looking at the nature of the airstrikes over Friday and Saturday, that's a lot of dead people initially, but also a lot of injured. We're talking about over 200 people who've been wounded in the 2 days of airstrikes, and the medical facilities in Ghouta are finding it very difficult to treat them.
And as we know, hostilities prior to Friday and Saturday had largely ended as negotiations over the evacuation of rebel forces continued. What caused this breakdown?
Well, it appears to be the nature of the largest rebel force in Douma, which is Jaish al-Islam. Now, other rebel forces who've been evacuated out of eastern Ghouta have often headed towards Idlib province. That's kind of the major area that's under the control of opposition forces. But however, one of the main forces there is HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, formerly known as Al-Nusra Front. And Jaish al-Islam have previously fought against HTS, and they saw that area as somewhere where they couldn't go. Jarablus was another option, obviously under the control of Operation Euphrates Shield forces in the north of Syria. For some in Jaish al-Islam, that was also a no-go area because of problems with some of the rebel forces there. And now it appears that the negotiations with the regime seem to be centering on the handover of heavy weapons by Jaish al-Islam to the regime and the Russians. The regime and the Russians want it handover straight away, whereas Jaish al-Islam look at it at the end of negotiations, at the end of the implementation of the outcome of those negotiations, and that appears to be the sticking point. And it appears that these airstrikes are a way to strong-arm Jaish al-Islam into agreeing to the regime and the Russians' viewpoint.